Sofphia pines for moon cheese, knowing moon cheese is the best cheese. Her best friend Nancy tells her to build a spaceship. Sofphia asks her how they'll fuel the spaceship. Nancy replies, anything is possible with a story you can believe in. So Sofphia creates a story ship. Sofphia and Nancy enter the story ship, and Nancy begins telling a story. In Kurdsandway, there lives a man named Mr. Nightlight. He owns Nightlight's Nightlight Company, a company that makes nightlights. But in Kurdsandway the moon is always shining, making nightlights unnecessary. Mr. Nightlight's nightlight business is very bad because the moon lights up everyone's houses just enough at night already. He hasn't sold any nightlights. But Mr. Nightlight has a plan. At night, his factory stops making nightlights and starts making robotic cheese rats. Every night, Mr. Nightlight sends his nefarious cheese rats into space to eat the moon. Just then, Sofphia looks out the story ship window and exclaims, "Oh no, Nancy, the cheese rats are back." Sofphia dons a spacesuit, grabs a toolkit and spacewalks to the cheese rats and begins reprogramming them to eat nightlights. While near the moon, she bags a tiny piece. She returns to the story ship and Nancy continues the story. The cheese rats stop their moon feasting and speed back to their factory of origin, knowing full well the delicious nightlights held within its walls. A vast swarm of cheese rats descend upon the factory and begin devouring every nightlight in sight. As Mr. Nightlight witnesses the destruction his handiwork wreaks upon his livelihood, he breaks down and begins sobbing. Just then, two girls enter. Sofphia and Nancy exit the story ship and enter the factory. Sofphia and Nancy, my mortal enemies. Mr. Nightlight shrieks in between sobs. Mr. Nightlight, Sofphia says, we're not your enemies, we just love the moon. We can't let you destroy it. But with the moon shining so bright, no one will buy my nightlights, bemoans Mr. Nightlight. The only thing I know how to do is make nightlights. Mr. Nightlight, Nancy says, nightlights don't need to compete with the moon. You should just market them differently. Anything's possible with a story you believe in. You're a bit one note, Nancy, aren't you, dear? My mother makes watches, often late into the night, even after the moon's gone to sleep. I bet you would love a working light to work by after I go to bed, Sofphia says. And my mother often reads late into the night, and she strains her eyes to read by moonlight, so I know she would love a reading light to read by after I have gone to bed. I never realized my night lights could serve other purposes. My lights can be lights for hundreds of things. Thank you, Sofphia and Nancy. From now on, I'll be known as Mr. Illumination, which is an idiotic name that will be changed later, and will make lights for every night's needs. You're welcome, Mr. Illumination. That's a trash name. Sofphia and Nancy shout back at him as they leave and board the story ship. After all this time, it's time to try our moon cheese, says Sofphia, bringing out the moon cheese she retrieved earlier. The girls sample their well-won prize as the story ship ferries them off into the stars. The end.